Welcome back to the Sonicview Learning Center. Today we'll be taking a look at the features for broadcast studios that were added to the Sonicview recently. It's impossible to understate the need for communication between staff in the broadcast environment. So the beefed up monitor section and talkback function we added in v1.50 is a must-have for both broadcast studios and mobile broadcast setups. Let's take a look at our monitor module. Enter the menu, then Mixer Setup, then Talkback/Monitor. Next, touch the Monitor 1-2 tab at the top of our screen. Here we can see Monitor 1 and Monitor 2. The latter was added so that we can use this to send signal to the studio or control room for individual monitoring. Here we can see Monitor 2 follow and Monitor 1 follow. This allows us to use the same monitoring setup to send to both the studio and the control room. By touching the gear icon next to Monitor Select, we see the option to select mic line inputs has been added to the monitor source. Additionally, our monitor source can be set independently in the left and right channels for expanded monitoring options. Towards the middle of the screen, we can see this button labeled Add. If we touch that button, we can now select multiple monitor sources. This allows us to mix and monitor different sources simultaneously. Let's go back to the monitor module. At the bottom center of both our Monitor 1 and Monitor 2 sections, we see buttons labeled PFL to Monitor 1 and 2 and AFL to Monitor 1 and Monitor 2. In certain situations, perhaps we may not want to listen to the solo signal in the control room, even with the solo buttons engaged. For this, we can turn off the PFL/AFL to Monitor 1 and 2 buttons. Notice the message we get that reads, "Solo signal is not output from Monitor 1 or Monitor 2. Here, between our Monitor 1 and Monitor 2 sections is this Select button, also known as the Monitor Exclusive button. In order to use this feature, we'll first need to click the gear icon at the top right of the screen. In each monitor section here, we can set the locations as either Control Room or None. Selecting Studio will defeat the exclusive function. For this demonstration, I'll set Monitor 1 to Control Room and Monitor 2 as None. Next, engage Monitor Exclusive by touching the icon as seen here. Now we'll back out of this menu and back to the monitor setup screen. As we can see, the Select button is now active and lit up. Next to the button is an arrow, which allows us to choose if monitoring is going exclusively to Monitor 1, as shown here, or Monitor 2, as shown here. When the button is grayed out, the function is turned off and the arrow indicators will not be shown. Let's move from here to the location configuration screen. First, go back to the menu, then Mixer Setup, then Config Mixer Location Bus. If your screen isn't already showing it, navigate to the Location Config tab. The first row is our module label area for all our channels, stereo inputs, effects returns, and mixes. Below that, we see our module location setting area. From here, we can assign all our channels to Control Room, Studio, or None, which leaves the location unset. At the bottom of the screen is the monitor location setting area. This is where we can set the Monitor 1 and 2 locations to Control Room, Studio, or None, which again leaves the location unset. Let's select Control Room for Channel 1 and Control Room for Monitor 1. Now, when we move the Channel 1 fader up anywhere from -infinity to 0, Monitor 1 will be muted. When we move the Channel 1 fader down to -infinity, Monitor 1 will unmute. This can be done with Monitor 2 as well. Any combination of Control Room and Studio between a channel strip and one of the monitor modules will work in this exact way. However, if a channel strip is set to None, this function will not work, regardless of what our monitors are set to. If Monitor 1 or Monitor 2 is set to None, this function, again, will not work, regardless of what our channel strip is set to. Now let's click over to the Solo tab. Notice the Output option. We can now output our solo left-right externally through the output router. Whether it's the physical outputs on the Sonicview itself, or any of the digital outs or expansion cards, we can select any option we'd like. This can now allow us to monitor our broadcast source using solos in parallel. Next, let's head over to the Talkback tab. A new feature added can be found under the Target heading. Our mic location settings can now be applied to Monitor 1 and monitor 2 as seen here. This allows for the monitor speakers in those locations to be cut once the Talkback mic is keyed. Functionality like this can be very useful for small radio stations, but also larger scale broadcast operations which utilize both a studio and control room separately. Looking at the bottom of the Talkback module, we can see newly added dim settings for both monitor 1 and monitor 2, allowing us to set those independently of the normal monitor dim level. Over here, at the input select area, we can now assign any input terminal for our Talkback, significantly increasing flexibility. Moving on to the Return Talkback tab, we have the same input select and location options that we have in the Talkback sections. Here, we can easily assign an input so we can utilize two-way Talkback communication. In addition to everything else we've discussed, the user key, foot switch, and GPIO functions have all been beefed up as well to bolster broadcast functionality. User keys make common functions simple to access and easy to recall. Let's navigate to the menu, then Front Panel Setup, then User Key Setup. We can set up any of the options we see here in the User Key menu, but I'm going to select User Key A as an example. Let's select Monitor. Now we can see Monitor 1, Monitor 2, and Exclusive. Now select Monitor 1 and let's scroll through the options. As we can see here, all the new additions to the Monitor 1 section are right there, easily assignable to user keys. Selecting Monitor 2 and scrolling through those, again, all the new Monitor 2 functions are listed here. Let's scroll down to Talkback. We can see all of our older Talkback options are here still, plus the new additions. Here's the oscillator option, and you can see On/Off has been added. Finally, scrolling to LED indication, we have a new operation that allows the user key LED to light up in conjunction with the GPIO in, GPIO out, open-closed function. As demonstrated, quite a bit of broadcast-centric functions and operations have been added. The Sonicview series is more than up to the task of being your broadcast audio centerpiece. Click the link on your screen for more in-depth tutorials on the Sonicview consoles, and as always, be sure to click like and subscribe to be notified when we post new videos.